Priming the pump, creatively speaking. And this week we're doing Once Upon a Time. Here's the question. Sometimes we just don't feel creative. And so this series is about things that we can do to prime the pump to get that started. And today we're going to ask ourselves the question, can someone else's creativity help mine to get started? Hi, I'm Dr. K.P. McKee, founder and executive director of a Spacious Place Creativity and Spirituality Center. And we welcome you here today, and we'd love to hear from you. Whatever questions or comments you have, you can enter into the comment box on your mobile device or on your computer. And for today's activity, you're just going to need some materials that you can write stuff down with. Paper and pen or pencil, computer, whatever works best for you. This is going to be a creative writing exercise, and I know some people like to work on the computer. I would encourage you to try out writing by hand. There's something that really connects us with the creative process by putting our own unique handwriting down onto paper, and then you just get it out however it comes. Don't care about if it doesn't sound good to you. You can do the editing later. That's the worst thing you can do to your creative writing, is try to edit as you go along. So creatives across history have used story as a springboard for their own creativity, because stories are how we share our lives. When someone asks us about our day, we tell them a story. If they ask, how did you two meet? We share the story. Even if they ask for a recipe, that too is a story of some kind. So stories are a part of our human experience across the globe. And across time, people have taken stories that they have heard and put their own unique spin on it. And that's what we're going to look at today. So there's some examples of that. If you have read The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and it is written from the Big Bad Wolf's perspective, you'll find out that those three little guys were not exactly the way they came across in other stories. The musical and the book Wicked also take a different turn on the Wizard of Oz. And fairy tales have a lot of variations. One in particular you can see variations of in various cultures is Cinderella. And so we're going to look at that today and think about how we can put our own spin on that well-known story. So what are the basics of this story? A person falls on hard times through the choices other people made, and they're sentenced to hard labor. Somehow or other they bend themselves to the task at hand and show their resolve to do the right thing, so that in time they are rescued and given the life that they deserve. And we have seen variations on this in various kinds of art forms. Jerry Lewis, back many years ago, did a film called Cinderfella, which he played with the gender roles in it. Gail Carson Levine wrote a book called Ella Enchanted, in which he explains the submissive choices that Cinderella chose to make with a backstory. And then we have the films Pretty Woman, and my husband also mentioned Made in Manhattan, which are a modern day take on the story. So let's think about what you might do to do your own Cinderella story. And to get started with that, we're going to look at our story journey here. This is how a story is constructed. This is very much how fairy tale stories are constructed. So we're going to begin at the beginning. And with a fairy tale, that generally is once upon a time. Once upon a time, something happened. And we hear about Cinderella and how she was her dad's beloved, but then her mother died, and then her dad died, and her dad remarried, then her father died, and left her with this terrible, wicked stepmother and a couple of stepsisters. And we're to the middle of the story now. Now we're moving toward the climax. And the climax is where we wonder if anyone will find the right foot for that glass slipper. And once we hit the climax and the shoe slips onto Cinderella's foot and the prince realizes who she is, then we quickly move with the following action to the end of the story, generally with a fairy tale, and they lived happily ever after. And that's the general way a story is constructed. You always have to have something that interrupts, some problem to be solved. All right, But let's take a look at this and think about how we might want to make this story a little different. How about if we change the point of view? Cinderella is generally told from the point of view of Cinderella. What if it were told from the point of view of the wicked stepmother? Is there a reason behind her behavior? What about the stepsisters? What's going on with them? How are they feeling? The prince, what are his wants and needs leading up to this story? And if you've seen the Disney version of it, a lot of it is told from the perspective of the little animals who help her out. So changing the point of view can completely change a story. And writers have been doing that across time too. Here's another option. We can do a prequel or a sequel. So a prequel is a backstory. It tells us what happened before the beginning of this story. So what happened to Cinderella leading up to this time? Or to her father? What was going on with the prince? Or the woman who became the stepmother, or her sisters? What were their lives like before? What formed their character? How did they turn out to be the way they were? And that's a lot what Ella Enchanted is about. We can also do a sequel. What happens after Happily Ever After? What if it's not so happily ever after? What if Cinderella has a lot more in common with the servants who scrub the floors than she does with the people she's supposed to smooth in the castle? What if that affects their relationship with other kingdoms in the area? What if the prince has a wandering eye, which is what happened in the musical Into the Woods? What is Happily Ever After really about? Is it possible? So that would be a sequel to the story. What if we set it at a different time? As I mentioned, those two films, Pretty Woman and Made in Manhattan, are set in fairly current times. What if we moved the time forward to our time? How would that change the storyline? Or even into the future, or back in time, past the time when these stories were collected? Or what if we changed the place, the location of the story, and set it under the sea, or in outer space, or on a continent that is not very populated right now, or in a kingdom that we made up, or a galaxy far, far away? What would the story look like in a different place? And lastly, what if we played around with the gender roles in the story? Jerry Lewis did that a bit with Cinderella, but what if we were looking at more fluid understandings of romantic relationships, and the prince wasn't interested in marrying a princess? What would that look like? How would that affect the end of the story? So it'd be great to have you give a try to one of those, and then send us what you've written. We would very much love to read it. If you found this helpful and liked it, please do like it on Facebook. You can also rewatch on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our site, www.aspaciousplace.com. And we will conclude this series next Sunday, May 31st. And we're going to close now with a prayer. Creator of stories, we ask that the ones we make may help us know ourselves, share our hope and understanding with others, and leave our world